Managing large repositories with Git LFS. Git Large File Storage, LFS, is an extension of Git, which is designed to handle large files efficiently. Git LFS is useful for managing repositories that contain large files, such as media assets, binaries, and archives. With Git LFS, you can store large files outside the Git repository, reducing the size of the repository and improving performance. This article will explore how to manage large repositories with Git LFS. What is Git LFS? Git LFS is a Git extension that manages large files by storing them outside of the Git repository. Large files are stored on a server, and only a pointer to the file is stored in the repository. This approach allows Git to handle large files more efficiently, without bloating the repository size or slowing down performance. Git LFS replaces large files with text pointers in the repository, and only downloads the actual file when needed. This approach makes it possible to manage large files without affecting the overall repository size, making it easier to work with large projects that contain many large files. Why use Git LFS? Git LFS is designed to handle large files efficiently, and it has several benefits over the standard Git repository. Here are some of the key benefits of using Git LFS. Reduced repository size. Large files can quickly bloat a Git repository, making it difficult to work with. By using Git LFS, large files are stored outside the repository, which reduces the repository size and improves performance. Faster downloads. With Git LFS, only the text pointer to a file is downloaded, and the actual file is downloaded when needed. This approach speeds up downloads and reduces the time it takes to clone a repository. Easier collaboration. Large files can make it difficult to collaborate with others on a project. By using Git LFS, large files can be managed separately from the Git repository, making it easier to collaborate with others. Better version control. With Git LFS, large files are versioned separately from the Git repository, which improves version control. This approach makes it possible to track changes to large files independently from the rest of the repository. Managing large repositories with Git LFS. Managing large repositories with Git LFS requires a few additional steps, but it is relatively straightforward. Here are the key steps to follow when using Git LFS. Step 1. Install Git LFS. The first step in managing large repositories with Git LFS is to install Git LFS on your system. Git LFS is a separate command line tool that needs to be installed alongside Git. You can download Git LFS from the Git LFS website or install it using a package manager. Step 2. Configure Git LFS. Once you have installed Git LFS, you need to configure Git to use Git LFS. This can be done by running the following command: $git LFS install. This command configures Git to use Git LFS for all large files. You only need to run this command once per system. Step 3. Track large files with Git LFS. To track large files with Git LFS, you need to add them to the Git repository using the Git LFS command. For example, to add a large file called myfile.zip to a repository, you can use the following command: $git LFS track myfile.zip. This command tells Git to store myfile.zip using Git LFS, and it creates a text pointer to the file in the repository. You can track as many large files as you need using this command. Step 4. Commit and push changes. Once you have added large files to the repository using Git LFS, you can commit and push changes as usual. When you commit changes that include large files, Git LFS automatically uploads the files to the Git LFS server and replaces them with text pointers in the Git repository. You can then push these changes to the remote repository, and other users can pull the changes and download the large files as needed. Step 5. Clone the repository. When you clone a Git LFS repository, the text pointers to large files are downloaded automatically, but the actual files are not. To download the actual files, you need to run the following command: $git LFS pull. This command downloads all the large files from the Git LFS server and replaces the text pointers in the Git repository with the actual files. Best practices for using Git LFS. Track only necessary large files. Git LFS is designed to handle large files efficiently, but it is best to use it only for files that are too large to be managed by Git. Tracking unnecessary files with Git LFS can increase the size of the repository and slow down performance. Use Git LFS for version control. Git LFS is designed for version control of large files, so it is best to use it for this purpose. For example, you can use Git LFS to manage versions of media assets, binaries, and archives. Use a Git LFS server. Git LFS requires a server to store large files outside the Git repository. You can use a public Git LFS server or set up your own Git LFS server. Use Git LFS with care. Git LFS can be a powerful tool, but it requires careful use. Make sure to back up your large files regularly and test your Git LFS setup before using it in a production environment. Git LFS is a useful tool for managing large repositories efficiently. By storing large files outside the Git repository, Git LFS reduces the size of the repository and improves performance. With Git LFS, large files can be versioned separately from the rest of the repository, making it easier to collaborate on projects that contain large files. By following best practices for using Git LFS, you can manage large repositories with ease and improve your workflow.